Hello!
Hello!
Good morning, hark ye, merry...
Come all ye faithful, on down to Bob's Big Lighthouse Emporium.
Thank you for joining us on this foggy morning. We're listening to the blaring of the foghorns where...
What was that a foghorn that I heard? Or was that like... There was some weird noise coming out of my neighbor's yard. Hi!
Hi! So we're here to talk about Lighthouse today. It is a folk something.
Gay.
It's a romance.
It's gay. It's a gay horror story.
Yeah.
I guess let's start off by saying I will try to not use a lot of F slurs. But I have the right to, and I will show you my identity card to prove it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair.
This movie's gay.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note here that when we say this movie is gay, did you go in knowing it was gay? I went in thinking that people were just like, oh, it's gay because like it's going to be one of those movies where it's like very homosocial, and so it ends up unintentionally homoerotic. And then it was like, oh no, it's like very explicitly homoerotic.
I went into it hoping that it was gay, certainly. But I think that like it was sort of it's not necessarily that it blew my expectations out of the water with how gay it was. It just kind of laterally was a different sort of texture of gay, but a really important one.
Yeah, I think, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should go see it. We are going to talk about spoilers. It is a movie that is very fun to go see blind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Knowing very little. Everyone I got to see it, it's like, go see it. Don't look up too much about it. Just know that it's about a lighthouse. It's 35 millimeter like black and white film, and it's
an Instagram filter.
It looks like what is that? What is that? The veranda? Is it that filter?
It's fucking mono or whatever you want to call it. Shot on iPhone 8.
Yeah.
I'm Brew, by the way.
I'm Jay Bearhat.
Yeah, and we
woke up like an hour ago.
We woke up like 2 seconds ago.
I am still drinking my morning coffee.
Yeah.
So when we say that this movie is gay, you should already know, but if you don't, we don't mean like they fuck.
No, absolutely.
But
not. You know,
they probably want to fuck. There's some near fuck. There's a makeout.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like an implied accidental makeout, but there's a makeout.
Yeah,
there's a near makeout.
If there's any YouTube comments that I definitely won't read about how we're reading too much into it, yeah, that the near makeout I think is kind of what makes it pretty explicit.
Yeah,
but
there's also interviews where they straight up say like, yeah, no, it's supposed to be gay.
Yeah, which I would love to kind of unpack those as well, because. Far from being necessarily just gay, I think it's when we talk about things as being gay, a lot of the sort of reactionary Twitter mind is to say like, but there's heterosexual desire in this film as well, so it can't be gay, and maybe it's a bisexual film, which is really
it's fish pussy, that doesn't count.
Fish pussy don't count.
Fish pussy don't count. It's what are the rules? Like different area code. Balls don't touch. If you don't come, and if it's fish pussy, it doesn't count.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a movie that is more complicatedly about the process of desire. But the homosexual tinges of it are like super crucial and central to it, I think.
Yeah, so like, God, this is actually a really dense movie, and this is probably one of my favorite movies of the year. Not even because of the homosexual content to it, because honestly, that's kind of like, it's a major texture of the film, but it is hardly the primary one. Although the film definitely is rife with. So you know something I saw on a second watch through? All the clocks in the house are shaped like big dicks.
That's great.
Like literally every clock in the house is like a giant like shaft, and then like a big base that looks like two balls. And like they're kind of like abstractly supposed to look like lighthouses, but like you can tell that Robert Eggers was like, that one looks like a dick. Get it?
We fucking love art direction.
But yeah, it's I like this film is about like desire. It's about isolation. It's about like daddy issues. It's about guilt. It's about paranoia. It's about abuse. It's about gaslighting. It's got all the things that the gays love.
Yeah, absolutely. I only got a chance to watch this one once, which is regretful. I do want to see it again. I'm a huge fan of The Witch. The Witch fucking rules. And I really liked this movie. But Jay, I'm more excited for you because this is just like Jay's food.
Even like I've had so many friends. Like I got friends to watch it, and like what I love is that everyone I've gotten to watch it texts me like, A, it's always like, wow, that was gay. But also, B, it's like they always like, there's different things to love about the film for each one. One of my friends was like, the sound design in this movie is like fucking tits off.
Yeah.
The ending scene has like some of the most disturbing like visuals and sound combination that I've seen in like a film this year.
Yeah.
Just, and like being able to tell that Robert Pattinson is just like screaming his fucking lungs out and you can barely hear it, but what you can hear like sounds like a fucking video game you downloaded off the dark web.
Yeah, it sounds like fucking Pathologic or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I like the trend of filmmakers having their kind of signature ending shot.
Yeah.
Because literally, in much the same way, like Hereditary and Midsummer end with kind of this like really strong sort of... I can't really think of a movie that's come out recently that was like a really good movie that didn't have like a good like second to last shot that was just someone looking at the camera.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh. That's where cinema is at right now, is people is looking back on the audience and going, what do you think? Discuss.
Yeah.
Refer to the assignment sheet under your seat.
Perhaps the movie is about society.
That's what happens at the end of Joker, actually. Unfortunately, that one disproves your role because Joker just fucking dances again at the end of the goddamn movie.
He's running around,
and then he gets chased and then
the Scooby-Doo sequence happens.
This is like the third episode we talked about Joker. Fuck Joker. Anyway,
we're not fans.
Really, really, really good films. Really good, like a lot of visual. Okay, so there's so much to talk about in this film. Let's talk about the weird the aspect ratio of the movie. What did you think of the use of the aspect ratio? Because I was really worried that it was going to be a bad gimmick.
Right, yeah.
Like going in. Like I knew, I was hoping it would be a good movie, and I was correct. But I was really worried that if there was one thing I wouldn't like, it would be the aspect ratio.
I think if I'm fishing for ways in which it kind of serves the general aesthetic of the movie, I think that the witch is kind of, it's this very sort of gender binary comparison between the two movies where like the witch has all of this perspective that the main character has, but she's not really being believed. Whereas Lighthouse kind of seems to talk about this condition of maleness where like you have like how you're supposed to kind of block out a lot of stuff and be like really laser focused in a really sort of visceral kind of like just emotional how your brain works way. Like I'm just speaking as someone who's been on both sides of the hormonal balance. Like, it just kind of feels like these characters it's claustrophobic, definitely, in a way that serves the film. And it kind of serves to show that they're being like kind of boxed in.
Literally boxed in.
Yeah.
If we want to go sociology 101, the tough guys, the man box.
The dude box.
Bro.
Yeah.
Out man cave in dude box.
Popularize the dude box.
Bro, let's get into the dude box. I got my bedpans out.
Bro, haha, it's not gay. Haha.
Bro, it's not gay if it's in the dude box.
It's not gay if we drink lighter fluid cut with honey.
The way in which Willem Dafoe looks like an excited baby in that scene as Robert Pattinson is mixing poison, basically, like making sweet poison for him to drink, and he just like, he like gives him his cup, like, oh yes sir, please. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
real fucking powerhouse performances from both of them. But on the aspect ratio note, my read on it. Well, so one, I read from an interview where Robert or Roger? It's Robert, right?
Robert Eggers. Yeah.
Robert Eggers is like good old Bob Eggers.
Good old Bobby
is like basically because he worked on the script of this film with his brother, where his brother was like, "Oh yeah, they want me to do a script about like a haunted sea man Lighthouse, whatever. And he basically had like the kind of like crystalline visual that like we see a lot in the film, which was the aspect ratio, black and white and kind of foggy looking, of just two drunk men like singing sea shanties over like a card over like a box that they're using as a table. So part of that is like that's definitely to fit into the sort of visuals of like ye old film strip movie, ye old Nickelodeon picture movie. Not that it like matches that aesthetic in literally any other regard,
Right.
but I feel like that's sort of like where he started out with the visuals, and I think he just kind of worked that in otherwise. But the two things that I like about the visual about that is that one, it really emphasizes how small the spaces they're in is, and that the quarters they live in are very tiny and close, like to the extent that one of the first things we see is like Willem Dafoe behind a pillar pissing into a bedpan, and the entire room from like the middle where Willem Dafoe is pissing into the bedpan under his bed is like fits directly into the aspect ratio like perfectly.
Nice.
And I like that because it immediately is like, okay, where they sleep together is like no space at all.
Yeah.
When they're in the house, there's no space at all for them to get away from each other. And then even in the farther shots on the island, I feel like it does a really good job of making the island feel small.
Yeah.
Because they can't leave the island. And that's like a big theme of the film is that they can't leave the island. There's that one shot where it's like a really far away shot of the island in the ocean. And even though it's a box, the fact that the island is so small and there's so much water surrounding it, like, makes you feel like, oh, they're boxed in by the ocean. I like it because it contributes to not just the claustrophobia of, like, masculinity or whatever. It also contributes to the, like, The Thing or Alien-style claustrophobia. Where it's like, you're not claustrophobic. It's not you're trapped because of a small space. You're trapped because you can't go anywhere past a certain point, because space, the Antarctic, an island in the middle of the fucking ocean.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, and this is something I noticed more on my second watch that he does really well with this movie, is that the edges of the film are almost always like really dark a lot of times. So you'll like forget that the aspect ratio is that small, because there will be shots where like as you get to the edges, it kind of fades to black a little, so it makes that darkness like feel like it's just stretching out for the whole film.
Damn.
And there's a couple shots that like he definitely uses that to like really intentional effect, where like he knows that people are gonna be watching this in widescreen or on widescreen, so he knows that like your eyes are gonna process that as just like a huge encroaching darkness surrounding Robert Pattinson's face.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it again to get a further sense of it, but I absolutely feel that. Where like not only was the aspect ratio not necessarily it didn't like distract me during the movie at all. It was fine. But I definitely did feel some moments where I was like losing track of where the actual border of the screen was.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I noticed. So I was like, wait, where's the edge of frame here? And it's because the edges are so darkened that like you can't differentiate them between them and the black space on either side.
That's interesting. I mean, it's kind of nice thematically. I mean, it shows it kind of the nothingness of the world and of the elements kind of is is encroaching on them.
And tapping my head like, big brain moment. It creates the visual effect as if a spotlight was what was the only thing lighting the characters in any given scene.
It's
such a there is a reason why it's one of my favorite movies, and why like I literally would probably see it a third time this month if like some friends of mine hadn't seen it and would only go if I went with them.
Right.
Because it's just such a textured, layered film, and having watched it once, the second time it goes by a lot quicker. It's not a very long movie, and it only feels long the first time you watch it because you're not really sure where everything's going. And two, you can actually understand what the fuck they're saying on a second watch, because you're not spending the whole movie being like trying to figure out what they're saying. So you're like, okay, in this scene he's telling him this, so I kind of know what he's saying, so now I can just focus on translating individual words. There are still lines in that movie where I'm just like, what the fuck did Robert Pattinson just say?
Yeah, they're even like past their like goofy weird accent, the like longshoreman accents, like they are just kind of like these drunk babbling like goofy guys who are constantly going off at each other.
Gutturally yelling at each other. Like there's a lot of lines where it's like this is a movie where like I can't wait for it to be on DVD or some streaming app so I can watch it with subtitles, because like there's just so many like, okay, so sorry I'm hopping around a lot. This is a very exciting film. Something I didn't catch on the first walkthrough because drunk babbling accent. So the big twist of the film, or one of the twists of the film, which is that Winslow isn't Winslow. He's a man named Tom.
Yeah.
Or Tommy, who killed a man named who either killed or watched a man named Winslow die and didn't stop it, and has a lot of guilt about it, but stole his identity essentially to have a better life. In the very famous scene where they're like in that compartments and he just goes what, and they just go what and what back and forth. What prompts that is that Robert Pattinson is drunk and babbling about his old job, and one of the things he says is like, Foreman Winslow just like giving me shit, fuck that guy. And then Willem Dafoe goes, Winslow, and Robert Pattinson goes like, yeah, fuck Winslow. And then he goes, Winslow, and then Robert Pattinson goes like, what? And then there's a pause, and then Willem Dafoe like goes, what? And then Robert Pattinson goes, what? And then that's what starts it. Is that early on in the film, like way before that confession, Willem Dafoe's character realizes that like, you're not Winslow, you're someone else pretending to be Winslow.
Holy shit.
And it adds such another layer to like the amount of deception that like Willem Dafoe's character provides to this person, is that very early on, it's very obvious that he's like, oh, you basically just let it slip that like Winslow is somebody else and that you stole someone's identity.
Shit. I totally didn't catch that. I was loving all the drunk babbling though. But a lot of the sort of plot details that are like that. That's fucking interesting. I also will fully disclose that like, as much as I love the movie, the when I watched it, I was like stepping out of the theater to blow my nose because I was actively sick.
Oh, yeah. Should we tell that story about what else happened at our theater?
Yes.
So we went and saw The Lighthouse with a bunch of friends, and a bunch of us were sitting in like mid front row area. Yeah. It's a smallish theater. Yeah. It's about as big as the aspect ratio. But yeah, Baru got up a couple times because like you were getting over a cold, and so she was blowing her nose. And near the last act of the film, I was like, fuck, is she in the bathroom? And then as we were leaving, I asked you, like, hey, you saw these scenes? You're like, oh yeah, I was just in the back of the theater. And then,
so I had like gotten up to blow my nose 1,000 different fucking times, and so I just kind of like sat by the exit. And of course, there was a couple in the back row, who were
a straight couple. Let's be clear,
a heterosexual couple who were as the layman might say, off the shits. And they were trying their hardest to fuck during the Lighthouse. And our friend Mia put it best. If they nutted, they deserve to be LGBT.
Yeah, if they nutted, they're no longer a straight couple. They are a gay couple.
They deserve all of the benefits of being queer.
And the best part was, as we were walking out, I desperately wanted to hear what the other audience thought of this, because like the audience was like a lot of like very clear. Like the theater that we go to, I love because it's like kind of an art housey theater. It's like 21 plus only, and they show a lot of like artisan
but it's still like
films.
A USA chain.
Yeah, but it's still an AMC.
Yeah.
So I will come out of like, we went and saw High Life, and I had the same thing where it's like I would walk out of it. There are people who were just like mad.
Yeah.
And so I walked out of that, and it was just like hearing people be like, "What?" Like just like so confused and upset at the film. But I'm pretty sure it was that straight couple, because they had that air to them. Uh-huh. I heard the guy go like, "So what'd you think of the movie, babe?" And she just goes like, "Oh, I thought it was okay." She's like, "Oh, it was pretty good. What happened?"
Yeah, there was a moment where like I was sitting near them, not like next to them, but like nearish, and
their foot's going into your popcorn. You're like, come on,
some shit like that, and. The point at which the mermaid shows up on the beach, and Robert Pattinson's character, Winslow, aka Tom, is like kind of pushing like seaweed off of her face, and I heard to the left of me like, "Who is that?"
That was also great with that crowd, was just hearing a lot of people just be like, "Oh my god."
What's that? Oh my god, Dave. What's happening? I don't know what was that.
I desperately need to know what their reaction was to the scene where Robert Pattinson spills his beans and then is running down the beach, finds the body of actual Winslow, turns it around, and it's Robert Pattinson. And then we get a shot of Robert Pattinson, and a fully nude Willem Dafoe with light projecting out of his face.
Yes.
Like, I desperately need to know what they thought of that scene.
That shot knocked me on my fucking ass, by the way.
That shot is so gorgeous. So,
Like,
I love this movie because it is also a pee-pee poo-poo movie, but it has so many gorgeous shots in it.
yeah. It's a slapstick movie, but about intimacy, like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it is. It's we talked about this, I think, yesterday. We might have been talking about it during Parasite or after, but it was, it's something where it's like the movies that are like my like fun popcorn movies are like this.
Yeah.
Where it's like a very dense, very artistically minded film, but it's like you read an interview of Robert Eggers, and he talks about like, oh, me and my brother wrote a real dumb, stupid fart movie. But there was like originally in the draft, it was going to end with Robert Pattinson growing a beard out and putting on Willem Dafoe's clothes, and we decided that was too stupid.
We were like, fuck that.
And then he's like, we hope what we left in the film isn't that stupid. Like it's such a delightfully like, you made a very like intelligent, interesting, compelling movie that shows like a real real love of the craftsmanship of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And your response to it is just like, yeah, I cut this scene because it was real fucking stupid. I hope what is in the movie isn't as stupid, but it's pretty stupid still.
I like to ascribe to the idea of like, kind of certainly Bob Eggers and his brother who he wrote the movie with, Max, like I think that they definitely like know what they're making, because it's like it's really strong as far as its visuals and as far as just like it's just a really strong and sound piece, and I think that they're really good like at writing, and Robert Eggers is really good at directing, and I like the fantasy world where they like don't really know what they're making.
Yeah.
or like in the way that like weirdo creatives kind of operate.
No, I love I like it just because it's like a very it kind of, I think it's why we like their movies so much, is it kind of echoes the sort of ethos we have of like anti-authorship, where it's like movies are happy accidents. When it's like, good job making a movie, I guess.
Exactly. It's like it came together with fucking tape.
Yeah,
or whatever.
And I love just
movies.
I love just that approach of just being like, we wrote this artistic movie and whatever, but we also wrote a scene where Robert Pattinson throws shit into the wind and it literally blows into his own face, which is like both a heavy-handed metaphor for what he does in the film, and also is just like, we had a scene where Robert Pattinson gets poo-poo on his face and screams.
Yeah, I like the sort of David Lynchian idea of like asking Robert Eggers like what he might compare this movie to, and being like, I don't know, Jaws. But I think that is like filmmaking in a weird way, where it's, I don't know, it's all the same shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, like that is to me like a good approach to art, is to realize that like ultimately what you're making is bullshit and lies.
Yeah, you're like Robert. I don't believe Robert Pattinson is a longshoreman, but I like what you're saying when you make him pretend to do that.
I do like that you convinced Robert Pattinson, or he volunteered to, who knows, for all the scenes where he's shit-faced wasted, to actually get shit-faced wasted, because I didn't know that on the first watch.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, he really captured the body language of being wasted. And then when I saw it on the second watch, the person I saw it with was like, yeah, I saw in an interview that he said he was like fucking blacked out drunk for most of this movie. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. That's method acting.
I truly hope that they both were. Because I just...
It's hard to tell, because Willem Dafoe seems like he would be that kind of drunk. Like a very like... goes off when he wants to, but like can be very like solemn and like meh.
Yeah, I do love the thing that's happened after like post Parasite, or not Parasite, but I do love the thing that's happened post Lighthouse coming out. Sorry, I just edited Parasite for like
that's fair. Yeah.
The thing I like about Lighthouse coming out is people treating Willem Dafoe like a teddy bear now. Because like
that's
he
not even
is
his
cute.
And that's not even his character in the film. Like that's what
No.
makes that so much funnier.
It's not his character in any of his movies. He's always like a crazy piece of shit. But like in real life, he is just so adorable.
The interviews he did for Lighthouse are like really sweet.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, I mean, that's he to me he's always come off like a guy who's a fantastic actor and plays an incredible like monster, but has like a very real sense of empathy to the way he brings to his roles, which makes him play a very good monster.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how Tim Heidecker is really good at playing Alex Jones types.
Because he hates them so much.
Because he just hates them so much that he just knows them so intimately.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. I absolutely see that. Yeah, obviously, like, his performance was fucking great. But it also, yeah, it created this whole situation where, like, the interview where they're talking about the homosexual overtones of the movie and Willem Dafoe. Sorry to steal this line, but it's, like,
please.
the best answer anyone has ever given in an interview about your gay movie, where it's like, yeah, sometimes dudes just get drunk and make out.
Yeah, he's just openly, he's like, yeah, that happens. No further comment. Doesn't go any further with that line. He's like, yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Also, it's like one of the favorite lines in an interview where, like, as they're discussing the homoerotic overtones at the start of it, you know, like they're both kind of giving like very like Willem Dafoe and Robert Eggers are both giving kind of like very like astute kind of like thoughts about like here's that gay shit, and then Robert Pattinson was like, I don't know, I thought it was pretty explicit. The script says the lighthouse looks like a big dick.
God, I want to read the script so bad.
And then, like, Robert Pattinson being like, yeah, I played this character as a dude who just wants, like, a daddy. Like, a gay, like, BDSM daddy. Which is, like, if you know who Dramamine is, the exact gaze of a Dramamine drawing.
Oh, yeah. We love Dramamine here. Go
Dramamine is modern gay art.
Yeah, no, that's true, actually. Like, Dramamine really is kind of carrying the Tom of Finland torch.
Yeah, Tom of Finland, Robert Mapplethorpe, I'm trying to think of some other, like, specifically known for, like, their kind of erotic art. Like, I would say, oh, God, Gengori Tagame, but, like, Gengori Tagame before alt-lit dudes decided that they were into Gengori Tagame.
Yeah, as like a fashion statement.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, really? Do you jerk off to the comics that he did about scat porn? No, you don't?
Did you, it's like, they're like, oh, it's really interesting how he did this, like, you know, this piece about a man getting shot in the balls of an arrow. And it's like, yeah, because he thinks it's hot.
Yeah. Because he's a homosexual.
Cretins. The same sort of vein of, like, you know, erotic Saint Sebastian art over the years, where it's you can trace a line from that to like Robert Mapplethorpe to like Dramamine to the Lighthouse.
Yeah, absolutely. We love all culture that proselytizes the value of having a daddy. Crucially, like
the gay death drive is what it's called in queer theory.
Oh, I would.
Or in colloquial terms, snuff horny.
So yeah, like what do we know any? I mean, like I don't know.
The most obvious text about that would be The Queer Art of Failure by Jack Halberstam or Jay Halberstam at the time, maybe. I don't know which name it's published under. J. Jonah Jameson.
By J. Jonah Jameson.
By J. Jonah Jameson, Halberstam.
And I mean, it's this fucking. God, the fucking scene where he turns Willem Dafoe into his pup.
God, that happened, and I actually, like, when I saw the movie again, was like, I knew that happened, but it was like, you know how like in like It, when they try to like remember the scary things that happened, they feel like they're remembering a dream, but they know it happened for real. That's what it felt like recalling that scene. Like, I had to see it again, because I was like, there's no way, like, it happens like I think it happens. No, it happens exactly. Yeah, there's a scene where Robert Pattinson turns Willem Dafoe into his pup, makes him bark, and then walks him like a dog, and it's like, come on. Come on, Eggers.
Fucking, like, so beautiful. It, like, so pornographic, really.
The follow-up of him pushing him into the ground and starting to bury him, and how great. I watched it both times, and it was so hard to focus on the monologue because I was just watching Willem Dafoe's face and seeing flickers of Willem Dafoe the actor break through every time dirt hit him in the face. And just knowing that up, like, off screen, Robert Eggers is like, okay, hit him in the face.
All right, get the dirt in his mouth.
Get the dirt in his mouth. I want you
also
to
hot.
I want you to get the dirt in his mouth. Okay, now put it on his chest so he thinks it's safe. Back in the mouth.
Yeah. The fucking, like, quote where Robert Eggers is like, some people say the fist fight is hotter than if they were to make out. I don't know if I agree, but I like that.
Yeah. I was like, yes, you do. You agree.
I mean,
And
like,
also, it is.
it's what the movie is. It's just them, like, sublimating all of this weird intimacy into, like, kind of not, like, ways that they can understand it less and, like, create animosity between each other more. But it's also very loving.
The line where it's like, queer way to wear your shoes is such a funny line.
Oh, God.
And he's like, just didn't want to wake you, but like perched over him. Just like.
I'm also obsessed with all the ways that they made Robert Pattinson's body look like a weird, like, deep sea creature.
Yeah.
In a lot of scenes. Like,
The lighting is so.
when he's jerking off and all you get is like a side view of his like ribs and his like arched back and he's just like,
And his
like
cakes.
and his fucking yeeks, dude.
What I like is that like it definitely feels like he partially cast Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson on the grounds that he's like, I want two actors where if I use intense lighting on their face, it will make them look like a fucking cliffside monster. The scene where Willem Dafoe delivers that like monologue about Neptune and he's like lit underneath and it's just like the camera can barely focus on him because his face is just so like grotesquely distorted by the light. Yeah. That's such a good like visual theme in the film too, is like light and shadow like destroying people's faces basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of what the movie kind of plays with whether Willem Dafoe's character is even human or real.
Yeah.
And the fact that they do so much with the lighting that just turns his face into a beard and two, like, wide-ass eyes that are just, like, piercing out through like, a bush. You know what I mean? Like,
so good. Yeah, so, like, that's another thing in the film. Is, like, I mentioned gaslighting is a big theme in the film. Mm-hmm. And what I like about this film is that it's very hard to pinpoint any sense of what is real and what isn't. So, to an extent, everything is a metaphor. But... that's gay. But it's like, so they even include a line where it's like Willem Dafoe is like, oh, I bet I'm not even here right now. You're probably just out wandering the tundra of Canada after killing Winslow and imagining this all out of guilt. So like even right out the gate, they're like, hey, ending explained fuckers. What if this is what's going on? But yeah. I realized on a second watch that could also be a hint at like another possible interpretation of the film. And I'm not saying this in a like ending explained way. I'm saying this in a like this is a texture of the film because the film deals a lot with like identity slippage, where there's even a possibility that Tom is actually Winslow and that he did die, because what you see at the end of the film is he's like mangled up.
Yeah.
But he's just washed ashore somewhere, but there's fog encroaching all around him in a way where you can't tell where he is. Yeah. So you don't know if he's on the Lighthouse Island.
Yeah, because he, in the sort of like narrative of the film, he like dies in the lighthouse and then all of a sudden he's on a shore and there's no lighthouse to be found.
Yeah, it's just fog and he's surrounded by seagulls. Yeah. And, you know, like, the seagulls are, like...
leaves it open for interpretation.
And the seagulls are pecking at him and pulling at him, which is, like, a recurring theme in the film as well. So it's like, oh, is this, like... this character is, like, everything in the lighthouse isn't real and he's dead because seagulls are actually pecking at him, and that's why he has such a hostile relationship to them in the film.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, I don't think that's necessarily, like, the intention of the film. I don't think that's a thing. But the reason I was like, that could be it, is because of the scene where Robert Pattinson, you know, finds the body of Winslow and he flips it over and Winslow is Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
And so, like, because, like, that's another thing in the film where there's identity slippage, is there's the fact that they're both named Tom.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And, like, in the scene when Winslow Tom is trying to confess what it is, he is like, I need to tell you something. He's like, I'm Tom. And then Thomas goes like, I'm Tom. No, I'm Tom. Then I'm Winslow.
I mean, it fits. It
and
works.
like, yeah, when I rewatched it, I was like, oh wait, like this line is like way cuter because now it's like him like having fun and not realizing that he's trying to confess that he like maybe murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Which like, that's like another thing where it's like weird identity slippage in what's real and what's like known and what isn't actually known, is that Willem Dafoe mentions that earlier in the film, like before any of this comes up, like before that scene happens, he has a line where he's like, "Oh, like as long as you don't go crazy and try to kill me." Like he brings that up as a recurring thing a lot, which suggests that he knows that before Robert Pattinson's character ever tells him.
Damn.
And that's like the other thing is like, there's things in the film where in the text of what we see Willem Dafoe gaslight Robert Pattinson's character. Like we see him lie to him. We see him like, try to fuck with his sense of what's real and what isn't. And there's a really good scene. So the part, where he chases Winslow with an axe. We're just gonna call him Winslow and Tom for convenience sakes.
Yeah.
Where he chases Winslow with the axe, and then immediately after is like, "You've gone crazy. That's why you smashed up the boat and chased me with an axe."
Yeah.
And what I like about that is that, like, the thing is though, that is immediately preceded though by Robert Pattinson trying to piece together what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, "I found the head of your old employee. You murdered him because you have a mistress in the lighthouse. And I don't know who she is, but I know there's someone up there that you're hiding from me."
Mm.
And that's when he's like, "Oh, you've gone crazy. Like it's all this sea life has gotten into your brain or whatever." And that's when he gaslights him about chasing him with an axe.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about that is that does double duty of also gaslighting the audience. Because it makes, because like when Robert Pattinson delivers all that, you assume that that's Robert Pattinson going crazy. That like, he imagined finding a body because he's been imagining things, and there isn't a woman in the lighthouse. That's just like him trying to figure out what's going on at the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Willem Dafoe says that on the second watch, I was like, wait, is he saying that because what Robert Pattinson just said is true and he's trying to cover it up? Did he murder his previous coworker? Is there someone in the lighthouse that he's fucking?
He's certainly getting fucked in some way in the
He's
lighthouse.
fucking something in the lighthouse.
But yeah, like I do love that. And I do love I feel that there's a sort of like people who kind of have a very literal view of like reading films could kind of respond and be like, well, then what does any of this fucking matter if none of it's real? And like, of course, the purpose is it's like a folk tale. It's an emotional appeal about how like guilt is really hard to live with. And
I also like guilt and isolation are very difficult to live with, and the experiences of self-isolating through guilt.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of this stuff where I think it further kind of speaks to the idea that Willem Dafoe is sort of not even necessarily a figment, but just this sort of important archetype that's like maybe real, maybe not real to Robert Pattinson's character, where like the whole "why'd you spill your beans" thing is just like, why did you tell me?
Yeah.
Why the fuck did you tell me? Why did you put this on me?
Especially because like in that scene, he's like, "Don't tell me." He's like, "I don't want to know." He's like, "There's one thing I can't stand when people gets drunk, and it's guilt."
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't want you to put that on me so that you feel better, because it's just going to make me feel worse."
Yeah, absolutely. So it really serves to kind of paint like a really detailed picture of the specific type of like guilty isolation that the movie's dealing with.
And yeah, it's like the way I always approach films like this is like everything you see on screen is actually literally happening in some perspective.
Yeah.
And so it's not that like it's all in the character's head. It's that like, no, it's like the implicit thing that like everything you're seeing is literal, but also everything you're seeing is essentially a projection of characters' perspectives and minds. So it's like what you were seeing of Willem Dafoe's character is literal, in that he is actually there, but he is also definitely a projection of like all of Robert Pattinson's psychology.
Yeah.
Like regardless of like anything he does or says in the film, he is the embodiment of like all of Winslow's insecurities, all of his guilt, and all of his desires.
Yeah.
Which is for a strong, mean dad to punish and reward him. Which I love when he brings home with that one line where he's like, "You're not my fucking boss, you're not this, you're not that." And then for no reason, he's like, "And you're not my daddy." And you're just like, okay. Because like even Willem
never
Dafoe's
said he was that one.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe even has like this flicker on his sleeve. He's like, okay, didn't bring your dad into this at all. Don't know why you're bringing that guy up.
This is just all of a sudden a very strange energy that you're bringing here.
Why did you say that? What did you mean by that?
What did he mean by that?
In an interview, Robert Eggers was like, yeah, I tried to make a very Freudian and Jungian film. Mm-hmm. So he's like, there's a lot of like very blatant like boner jokes in the film. Like the fact that Winslow is a woodsman is like also a boner joke. And the scene when he's like jerking off and like trying to think of fish pussy so that he's not thinking of men. One of the things that he imagines works both as like an intrusive, anxious thought about possibly killing Winslow. And also is him imagining Winslow from behind and then him thrusting a sphere into Winslow's back.
Yeah, there was some imagery played with where they're like, the guy that you killed, maybe you had a crush on.
Yeah, like you might have like, because like there's also the running line that like first he accuses Tom when he's getting drunk of like, I know what you want from me, like I know what you're doing. And he's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And then he reveals later that, like, that's something Winslow had said to him when they were isolated before he died, was just like, damn. I know what you're doing. Like, I know what you want from me. So there's definitely an implication that, like, Robert Pattinson maybe has a long history of trying to have sex with older men that he works under.
Interesting.
And Willem Dafoe's character is just like, all right, like, chill, bro. Bro, there's nothing gay about fucking on the Lighthouse.
Dude, it's fucking normal. Come on.
I mean, he even says, like, at that point, he thinks that the Little Mermaid jerk offering that he has, he thinks that's, like, a cursed object that Willem Dafoe's character put on him to make him, like, obsessed with lust. Oh. So it's very much so, like, you're making me horny. I'm not horny. You're making me horny.
You're the one that's making me horny. It's your fault. God.
You and your supple ass cheeks.
I think that, like, I mean, like, this movie, kind of following in the vein of Parasite, has a really good, like, curse that is levied on someone. Like, there's that whole monologue in the center point of the movie that Willem Dafoe gives about, like, you don't like me lobster?
Yeah. Me lobster?
Like, if you don't like my cooking, you deserve to be torn apart by seagulls on the docks.
Forever.
And disemboweled forever. Well, fucking...
reduced down to literally nothing but the sea.
Yeah.
Like, that's the ending line, is like, not even any trace of Winslow no more. Winslow no longer, but the sea.
God. It'd be like that.
Just totally just like, I'm going to negate your entire existence and identity. Which, again, ties into the whole Dramamine thing.
Which is very hot.
Yeah,
the most sexual thing of all, Oblivion.
Yeah, and millennials love Oblivion.
Who doesn't? Honestly, who? Come on, who doesn't fetishize death and nothingness?
If you don't fetishize death, get the fuck out. Yeah. Real ones only.
Unsubscribe.
No, this movie is like. I don't want to oversell like the queer content because I think people are gonna go in expecting just nonstop fucking and sucking and glory holes everywhere.
Sure,
it's very much so. It's more of a cerebral version of fucking and sucking and glory holes everywhere.
Well, I mean, like there's also when it comes to like male homosexuality, there's all sorts of different like layers of engagement with that. There's like dudes. There's like so many dudes who fuck dudes who aren't out. Like,
no, that's true. Yeah, the whole DL trade, straight,
which I think
$20 is $20.
Yeah, $20 is $20. But, and I think in 2019, there's like less of that guy who's just like, yeah, I fuck dudes, but I'm like straight, and it's more dudes who are kind of just like having this Bjork like sort of like pie and cake, sort of just implicit bisexuality, but also kind of not like putting themselves under the queer umbrella, which is always interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot less Roy Cohns and a lot less rough trade. I mean, there are definitely still, depending on where you go.
Sure.
But there's definitely a lot of like, God, I remember when I was living in Connecticut meeting a dude who told me that like, he was like a gay dude. He was like, yeah, in college, I like fucked around a lot. Never with a gay man.
Always with straight dudes.
It was always with straight dudes. He was in like a frat and just like, he was like, yeah, straight dudes, like, they would get drunk and they would want... And that the wildest part is, he was the top.
What?
So he would top straight men in college.
He's living the king's dream.
Right? Yeah, I was like, what college? I'm going back to school. Yeah, no, it's such a weird, especially once you add in like modern gender politics stuff, since I know a lot of trans men who have had the experience of a dude who is straight but is like, you know, basically the version of like straight but fucks men, but like has this weird thing where it's like, yeah, you have a beard and very clearly look like a man, but I'm giving myself plausible deniability here because I'm topping.
Right, yeah.
Or also, you know, if you're topping, you know, you're not fucking me with like a dick that has cum in it. So it's fine. So it's the cum that makes it gay.
Yeah, which of course, as we all know, if you're a dude and you fuck trans dudes, fortunately,
you're still fucking dudes.
You're gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just to clarify that, I just know like a lot of trans men who have had the experience of like being treated as a lesser man.
Absolutely.
And therefore a more acceptable target.
And like, as much as that like sounds and feels like transphobia, it's a little bit more complicated because some of us are trans and have to fuck, and there are a lot of chasers out there.
Yeah.
The experience has a lot more to do with like pulling someone more gay of center than kind of acquiescing to their like weird society brain ideas about what fucking trans people actually means.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, bar none. Like, we live this shit.
It's being trans in 2019 is like, you don't gotta understand a lot about deep pathological psychosexual desires. No. But it helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the weird straight trade. So I was gonna say, I think what I love about this past year of movies is that we have both a fantastic movie for the gays, Lighthouse, and a fantastic movie for the girls, The Favorite.
Yeah.
And what I love about both is how much they like reveal, like how much they tie into the like deep desires of both, where The Favorite is as debauched as you can get with its sexuality. It is the most there's this like mainstream image of what lesbian sexuality is, which is very like chaste and like tee. Let's have like a sleepover.
People are so all over the place in their interpretations of lesbianism.
Yeah, there's this assumption that lesbians have very, and like you even see it in like older like political lesbians, which is to say straight women who identified as lesbians for political reasons. Like, you know, like I have a husband, but I'm a political lesbian because I support the lesbians, but I don't like them. Like those types where they would talk about lesbianism as like essentially a sexless thing. Like that's what political lesbianism was.
Right.
And then you have The Favorite, which is just like
they be fucking
the most like power dynamic, like the raunchiest like fucking is in that movie. And then you have The Lighthouse, which is like the opposite direction, where it's like, no, like, you know, people be thinking all gay men care about is lying and sex. But this is and eat hot chip. But this is like a movie that is like all about the thing that so many like gay men and like fag adjacent people love.
Yeah.
Which is the like the almost. Yeah. The constant vertical asymptote of approaching desire and like the tension. Yeah. It's the tension.
Honestly, it's I as much as like I don't know. The sort of mainstream call for like more gay media kind of also needs to understand like being gay is hard.
Yeah, being gay is like hard, and like sometimes we actually just want to watch just the worst shit. Yeah. Like the worst behaved people.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes like and like I think that these sort of narratives that come from from what I have to presume is kind of like an honest exploration of like the good and bad aspects of those desires and like how those play into everybody's life, but it's also like, you know, really cool honest art that people are making now.
Yeah, I mean, like, not for nothing, if straight people can have Rick and Morty,
we can have whatever
the fuck we want.
Yeah, fuck you guys. You guys watched fucking The Mailbox? What's that Keanu Reeves movie called?
The Lake House?
The Lake House.
The one about the time traveling letter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's The Lake House.
Cool. That one. Fuck you guys.
You guys fucking watched Remember Me, the movie of Robert. You made Robert Pattinson play a heartthrob hunk who gets killed in 9/11, and that's like the most romantic gesture possible. Fuck you.
What a different time. We're just like...
I'm so glad Robert Pattinson is finally like able to move out of the shadow of Edward Cullen. Him and Case 2 both have moved out of their Twilight shadows, and I'm very proud because they're both phenomenal actors.
Absolutely. Kristen Stewart has a bunch of incredible roles all over the place in her recent filmography.
Personal Shopper is one I saw that I fucking love.
Clouds of Sils Maria knocked me on my ass. It was so fucking good.
I've talked to people about it where I said Lizzie Borden is like a bad movie, but she plays like a fumbling, like anxious butch in it, and it's like a really good turn.
I love her. I love Case 2. And we love Robert Pattinson.
I love good old Bobby Patty. Well, what did you say his middle name was? We found out he has like three like he has like a fake ass sounding name.
Yeah, he has like a J.R.R. Tolkien ass name. It's like that's Robert Eggers who has
a normal name. Who sounds like a Disney CEO.
Yeah. Robert Pattinson's full name is Bob Doug Tom Pat, which is a sentence. So congratulations, Robert Pattinson, on having a name that is a sentence.
Was his parents just like, this kid's gonna be a star, but he's gonna want to choose what name he's gonna have, so we'll just give him 5. And he can mix and match. Work. Yeah, one of these will take off. If he gets caught in some sort of scandal, you could just swap him out.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Cannot wait for his turn as Batman.
Yeah, it's gonna be an unbelievable. The fact that they're talking to Colin fucking Farrell to play the Penguin.
It's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be porn, and it's gonna be great.
So like I realized I was talking about the tension. We watched. I got Mia to watch a bunch of Greg Araki films recently.
Oh yeah.
And I noticed that like that's a big theme in his work, and both the Doom Generation and Nowhere. James Duval basically plays the platonic 90s ideal of a bisexual himbo.
Damn.
And in both movies, it's like very just like constantly about to reach the vertical asymptote of being gay, and then like in Doom Generation it ends in him getting massacred. Spoilers, it ends in him getting massacred by like a Nazi gang. Which is weird. And then in Nowhere, also spoilers, it ends in his literal heterochromia boy crush in the whole film, like 2 different colored eyes, like a fucking furry, like boy crush in the film, climbs into his window naked and is like, I was abducted by aliens, and they like lay in bed together cuddling, and it's very sweet. And he's like, can I stay here till morning? And he's like, only if you promise to never leave. And it's very like teen gay boy fantasy. And then his crush explodes into an alien cockroach. He goes, I'm out of here, and climbs back out the window.
That's the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I need to watch all of Greg Araki's
Nowhere
movies.
And the Doom Generation are like so good. Nowhere is like, I would say, a lot better of a film, but the Doom Generation is like Meeks' favorite film. They're both incredible to watch.
If you also want to see another, it has less to do with The Lighthouse, but another movie about that's kind of touches on homosexual desire in a really interesting way. Check out Poison by Todd Haynes.
I've been meaning to watch that.
It's like a 3-in-1 movie where there's like 3 different narratives that are completely different but happening at the same time. It fucking blew me away. It's like one of my favorite movies I've ever seen.
Nowhere is basically, it's like a bunch of vignettes where it's like all these characters whose lives intersect on their way to a party, which is like not explicitly, but kind of like once you realize that the party is essentially a metaphor for heaven. Because they're both part of his Teen Apocalypse trilogy. So all the characters in the film essentially like have this like nihilistic Gen X like idea of like, oh, the world is ending. Like the world is going to end. We are all going to die. We're probably going to live to see all of us die. So they just are very like apathetic to the things that happen around them. It's very, very interesting. They're both very, very, very upsetting films. They both deal with some like real fucking rough themology. So do not go into them if you have like not like a delicate sensibility. That sounds like a condescending way to them. Don't go to them if you're not in a mental place to deal with like real upsetting shit. Yeah, because they both deal with like some pretty upsetting things.
Well, I'm always ready.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. The thing to know to go into it is that there's a character in Nowhere. There's a character who's just credited as Teen Heartthrob, and the actor's name is misspelled, and they never say who he is. He was one of the main characters on Baywatch, and he is basically playing himself. So they never say that his name. There's just a part where he goes to introduce him to someone, and she goes like, "I know who you are. I've seen you on TV."
All right.
And that's thematically important because he ends up being a monster.
Damn.
Very, very, very fun films. I started watching the first one in the trilogy, Totally Fucked Up, which is like a fake documentary, and is very like is the more explicitly gay of the three, in that it's just like all the main characters are just like gay, like teens who are like depressed. And it's pretty fun from what I watched, but I didn't get to finish it yet.
All right. Well, we love Gregor Aki.
We love gay movies.
We love gay movies.
We love The Lighthouse. We
Lighthouse
love
fucking rules.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
More like Willem Defriend.
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
He should change his name. I'm just saying. We were talking to someone recently about this, and we were talking about how Robert Pattinson is a weird face guy, and she was like, I don't know, I think he's still very handsome. Like, he's still got that like teen handsomeness. And I was like, okay, but Willem Dafoe is a weird face guy. Go look up old photos of him. He's a fucking babe.
He was a dreamboat.
Yeah, like when he was Robert Pattinson's age, he had like fucking like Brad Pitt ass, like fucking hot.
Yeah.
And I was like, Robert Pattinson is gonna have the same arc because he's got the cheekbones there. You know, he's gonna have a weirder face as he gets older, and he's gonna be the weird face guy actor.
Yeah, he's gonna grow into it, and he's gonna rock it, just like Willem Dafoe rocks it every single day. Two of our faves.
It's so nice when we have people who make movies whom we actually like.
Yeah.
There's so many that we hate. Even when we like their work, we hate them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much for us to sit here and be like, these people that we don't know are good people.
They're probably not. But
they're probably pieces of shit. But
we like their work, and they're pretty good at keeping the mask on.
Yeah, and the interviews that they give are funny. They make me laugh, and I like them.
I like them. I like their movies. I will go see Kristen Stewart. I will go see your ripoff of Alien, but underwater, called Underwater. I might not. I don't know. It looks real bad. But it's her doing a Ripley, which is like, oh, that's such a good pitch. That's such a good pitch. But the movie looks like fucking dog shit.
All right, well.
The bird murder scene?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It's so...
It's so... I think it's the fact that, like, you don't expect it, and then when it starts, you don't expect it to go on for as long as it is, and you just keep smashing it until it's literally unrecognizable.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's this weird thing where, like, the whole scene starts off with him looking into the cistern and seeing, like...
A dead bird.
And then the other one... I think it's trying to say, like, that kind of his guilt complex is interpreting a lot of external stimulus as, like, kind of blaming him, or, like, putting a focus on him, where, like, he just kind of doesn't want to be seen, looked at, accused. He's
talked
like,
to.
The whole point of being on this island is that he's running away.
Yeah.
The
island is it's basically Silent Hill.
Yeah.
This is basically a Silent Hill movie.
There's so much fucking fog. It looks like fucking Silent Hill.
It looks like it's a regular Silent Hill out here.
Honestly, it's more Silent Hill than almost any recent Silent Hill shit.
It really is. Like, I said that kind of as a joke, but I thought about it, and it's like, no, it really is just like he runs away to a deserted area. He has a mysterious backstory, and then as it's revealed, he has a backstory he has a ton of guilt about. Because either he murdered someone or basically watched somebody die and then didn't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then even if he didn't kill the guy, you know, he has guilt because he wanted to kill the guy, and then he watched the guy die and was like, you know, that guilt of like, did I do this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's a lot of... God,
I didn't even think about like the way in which like a big theme of his character is questioning his responsibility in a person's death.
Yeah, and just so much of like his reactions to everything that's happening on the island, because like a lot of the movie is just like, why can't you just act normal? You're here to do a job. Just be normal. And
swamp dog.
And yeah, absolutely. And he's like trying really, really hard, but like because of his just totally unbelievable unchecked guilt complex, everything just feels like it's everything feels like its eyes are on him.
Which ties into the Lighthouse theme with the light.
Yeah. So like I feel that kind of it speaks to something about the human condition where like you feel guilty and all of a sudden it feels like everybody is judge, jury, and executioner. You know what I mean? So that's like a really interesting texture to the movie that I love.
So good. Such a good movie.
It's a fucking good movie, dude. I like it.
It is. This is like one of those films I definitely can see myself like revisiting every like couple year or two, and like getting something different out of it because of like the level of like different emotions that it deals with in the film.
Yeah.
A small character thing, and I don't know if this was Robert Pattinson fucking up or not. When he gets drunk, his accent is all over the fucking road.
Yeah.
But the reason I don't know if it's an accident or not is because we learn early on that he's basically been job hopping, and then he lived in Canada originally. So the implication is that because he's been working blue collar jobs and he's constantly like Willem Dafoe calls out like at the very start, like, you're putting on an affect of being this like quiet, solitary seaman, but like I know that's bullshit. You're a pretty boy. Yeah. Like he straight up calls him like, you're too pretty for this role that you're trying to play.
Yeah.
And so like
Which
I kind of took, yeah, well, it's a cute little flirt. He blushes. No,
thank you.
But it's like I definitely interpreted that as like, oh, okay, so like every job he enters, he tries to perform what he thinks that kind of job is, which he projects later onto Willem Dafoe, where he's like, you're putting on an accent, nobody fucking talks the way you're talking, which is really funny.
Yeah, which is also like kind of projecting.
Yeah,
you know?
it's him projecting his own. So in the scenes where his accent keeps slipping, like when he gets like wasted in the lobster scene, he's like slipping into a Boston accent. And the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, that's like Robert Pattinson's too drunk in the scene and like fucked up the accent because it's a hard accent to do, I assume.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, actually, that's probably his character. Like you could interpret it as like that's his character fucking up the accent. Yeah. Like that's his character, like as he's losing control of his functions, like he's sliding through into all of these identities that he's put on over the years, and he's like not able to keep them straight. Because it's in the same scene where he fucks up and says Foreman Winslow.
Yeah, interesting. That's really fucking interesting. Like, God, I really want to watch this again.
It's really worth watching again. Like I said, I feel like I'll probably go see it again at some point, just because it's like, if not in theaters, like when it's as soon as it's out, because I feel like there's probably like a lot of like textured stuff that like you can get on another watch. That's how you know a movie's good, is when you can watch it again and there's like not just like, oh, I didn't notice that in this scene the people go past Tyler Durden and they don't say hi to him, but they say hi to Edward Norton. It's like it's shit you don't notice where it's like, oh, this like ties a lot into like the character's like psychology, and like these are like little ticks that they have early on that kind of reveal that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I found something. Apparently, the Lighthouse, like, not, like, really happened, literally, but it specifically, like, the Wikipedia article specifically links off to an event of like, a two-man team of something happening that it seemed as though it was beckoning.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, yeah. Summarize this event.
So, basically, yeah, I'm gonna... So the Lighthouse movie like links off to a Wikipedia article. Here's the kind of Cliff Notes paragraph. It's called The Smalls Lighthouse. The old lighthouse brought a change in policy in 1801 after a gruesome episode. There was a two-man team of two men named Thomas who were known to quarrel.
Wait, they were both named Thomas?
Yeah.
That's okay.
One of them was Thomas Howell and the other one was Thomas Griffith. Which
I don't think is
Thomas Howard is the name of Robert Pattinson's character, and Thomas Wake is Willem Dafoe's. So it would appear that it might be lightly based on this. So one of the Thomases dies in a freak accident. Other Tom is like, man, people are gonna think I killed him if I put the body out to sea or if I get rid of the body. So I'm just gonna like put it in a coffin and kind of like chuck it. Like, lashed it to an outside shelf. Stiff winds blew the box apart, though, and the body's arm fell within view of the hut's window and caused the wind to catch it in such a way that it seemed as though it was beckoning.
Oh.
Working alone and with the decaying corpse of his former colleague outside, Howell managed to keep the lamp lit. When Howell was finally relieved from the lighthouse, the effect of the situation had on him was said to be so extreme that some of his friends did not recognize him. As a result, lighthouse teams were changed to rosters of 3 men. So, boy, oh boy, some shit really happened in the past.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Like that would be an inspiration for this film, of just this idea of like, yeah, you put two people on an island, and it's like, that's it. That's isolation. Yeah. They're gonna go insane.
Yep, absolutely. And there's also this other touch, like of what you were talking about, where Robert Pattinson's character Winslow is being like really evasive about his like identity, and like switching accents and like all of the shit. He says at one point that he's like driving, but like the time, place, we all looked at each other and we were like, when the fuck does this movie take place?
Yeah.
And the idea, I think somewhere like it's early.
It's late 1800s, so like 1890s, like right. Into the start. It's after the publication of Moby Dick, but it is before like the 1900s. So it has to be within the time window of 1890 to the 1900s.
Which implies that he was driving like a Model T or something, which like two people had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, just like a bunch of really fun touches with his character that all are like really... They all kind of like jive with each other in these complicated, conflicting ways, but it's like really interesting.
It suggests a level of like weird, like they're out of time and place, like they're embodying an era, but they are like quite literally like removed from reality, essentially.
yeah, definitely. So it's and it's not so much that the film is giving like a historical account as much as it's using the past as this sort of
like a texture.
Yeah.
Or as like a backdrop, as like as a hook to hang ideas on because of what it connotates.
Yeah, definitely. So, cool shit.
What a good movie.
Fuck yeah. Go check it out.
Go check it out. Drink some gasoline. Bring your little cup of gasoline and honey.
Bring your kerosene tanks.
I love the bit where like they show Robert Pattinson lifting all like that huge thing of kerosene up to the top of the lamp, and he's just like, you dumbass, you're supposed to bring this. Anyway, bring that back down. Like very clearly heard him coming up and was just waiting for him to get to the top to tell him, like, by the way, you're an idiot. Take it back down.
We love an abusive relationship.
I mean, if it's well written. It's what the movie does. You know, the movie doesn't romanticize it. It doesn't say that it's good. It shows that it's bad. Mm-hmm. Blah blah blah. It's fine. Movies have to hold your fucking hand and wipe your nose for you and tell you things that are clearly bad. If you have a basic fucking moral system, are bad, and the movie does that. But it also says,
what if they were nice to each other and did kiss and did?
I've said this so many times. I cannot wait for the Fujoshis to find this film. I know people hate Fujoshis, but I'm like, this is like tailor-made.
We love Fujoshis.
I said people,
yeah,
not
exactly.
us. But people, this is like tailor-made for them. Just like scummy, older, like scummy age gap, gross men.
Yeah.
Who have like a shitty, unhealthy relationship dynamic where you just like, what if they just kissed each other and were nice instead?
The Pixiv tag is...
It's going to be lit.
If it isn't already going off, it had better start.
A lot of movies this year where people fall from a great height and shatter both their legs.
Yeah.
What's up with that? Who's peeking on whose notes for that one?
It's scary. Don't break my legs.
I don't want to break my legs. I do love that that's a horrifying scene, and then they show Robert Pattinson falling all the way down the lighthouse stairs. Yeah. Which is so cartoonish.
It's very Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
That whole ending. I was kind of really wondering where that touch would lead.
You know what else I just realized with the freak accident thing is that like another possible interpretation. Robert Pattinson is getting shit on by the birds at the end of the film, obviously, because he has splashes of white on his legs.
Yeah.
But halfway through the film, he also falls from the lighthouse while painting with white paint.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it's like black, and then he wakes up, and so there's like an implication that like, you know, maybe he didn't actually wake up.
Maybe he was actually. Oh gosh, I almost wonder if the freak accident, like in real life,
was painting a lighthouse, because I remember reading about a little bit, and they said that they did do a lot of historical research.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that was what the freak accident was.
I don't know. That's cool. That's a cool, like, as much as that's like such a footnote historical event of just like two randos. It's like it's really cool to kind of look at that and want to extrapolate it into something that's kind of more poignant.
I mean, like it's a weird historical incident, but it sounds like a fucking like Edgar Allan Poe novel.
100%. Yeah.
like it is so fraught with like symbolism and like horrifying ideas and implications and things that you can like extrapolate a full story out of.
You're out of rations, you're out of water, and all you can do is like look out your window and see your dead comrade
waving his
at
hand.
You.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck that, dude.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, God.
The part in the movie where he just goes, the rations, and they like go and dig up this like big box, and it clearly takes like hours, and then Robert Pattinson opens it and it's just alcohol.
That was fucking great. So good. I mean, like, you know,
the rations.
It's like water, but it's alcohol.
Robert Pattinson trying to pee into a floating chamber pot because the house has been flooded, and then the second it moves away, him just bending over and puking.
Ugh.
So many good things. Go and see this film if you haven't. It is the abject.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, It is so grimy, so disgusting. We love to see these famous actors be covered in mud
and shit and piss and sweat
literal
and
shit
water,
and piss, yeah,
and fish pussy.
Fish pussy. Love the trend of just putting all of these actors through this.
One of my roommates was like, after we saw this movie, he was like, "Oh, I now understand what a siren is."
Yeah,
like from this movie, because the siren very clearly like is desire.
It absolutely is sort of like overall representative. Yeah, it kind of creates this really interesting case where like there's this sort of double meaning that's all of a sudden given to the siren, where it's like for like Robert Pattinson's character to be able to envision himself in a meaningful relationship, or like, you know, to be able to be meaningfully intimate with like another person, he kind of has to deal with the fact that all external stimulus feeling like it's preying on his guilt complexes.
Yeah.
And the use of this like siren mermaid and like all of this sea imagery like really kind of nicely angles toward that, which I think is cool.
And the first time we see the siren is when he goes out to the beach and he sees a bunch of logs and a body floating in the water.
Yeah.
And if we know, and as we learn later, the actual Winslow died because he slipped into basically a river full of logs and was pulled under. And Robert Pattinson jumps into the water to try to save the person who drowned, which he didn't do, we know, with Winslow, and that's when he sees the siren. I fucking love this movie.
Yeah,
probably my favorite, or at least definitely one of my favorite movies of this year.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. It's really fucking cool, and it's really fun.
It's gonna be so cool when it gets snubbed at the Oscars.
It's gonna be great.
It's not gonna get any sound design awards.
No. Like it deserves a nod somewhere. Not necessarily from the Oscars, but from, I don't know, fucking somebody. Somebody should just come up and be like, "Hey, you made a good
The
movie."
Razzies, no.
Yeah. The Razzies, actually, it's good award.
Yeah. Good actually. Actually, the Razzies should have a good actually category. It's good actually category.
Yeah. It's like, fuck the Oscars, we're just gonna start doing this. Which would be really fun. Yeah, what would you maybe have rather spent your
$15 on?
What would you rather have spent your Lighthouse's maintenance worker's salary on?
You know, I got some dad issues. I should
Therapy.
I love how like so many of the movies we love, whenever the question is like, what would you rather spend it on? Our answer is always therapy.
It's always gonna be
It's
that.
always gonna be therapy.
I always wish I had therapy instead of media.
Why not both?
I wish I had spent it on a pup mask. I feel like that would be
like
good.
a couture one.
Well, we're talking about $14 here. Like, I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, Mr. S ones are like super expensive, despite looking like the McDonald's of pup masks. So you could probably find someone who's just good with leather work and do like a decent, like well-made one.
I want to do like really fucking stupid bullshit, like Dark Souls pup masks and sell them in my pop-up store in the mall.
Probably could. I mean, maybe not at the mall, but like you could probably sell shit like that. Here's the thing I've learned from being around like pups and stuff is that like if you can make a pup mask that doesn't look like a Mr. S pup head and doesn't look like absolute dog shit, you could probably sell it for a pretty decent price because the need for pup masks that don't look bad or generic is very high.
Absolutely. If it was like an Artorias pup mask, that would be hot.
Yeah.
Or like an Ornstein pup mask.
What are you glad you didn't spend your $15 on?
I'm glad I didn't buy like shitty poppers or something.
Poppers that give you headaches.
Yeah, the headache poppers.
Headache poppers.
I don't know. What are you glad you didn't spend it on?
So I did go see a date. I had a date for the second time I went and saw it, and I'm glad I didn't spend it on an Uber back because I ended up getting back at a pretty decent hour.
Yeah.
I almost took an Uber back home because I was like, I don't want to wait for a bus, but I'm glad I did.
Sometimes
it was a pleasant little ride home.
waiting for the bus sometimes,
Do you know delayed gratification?
Yeah, it's like saving that money. Feel good about yourself. Anyway, thank you guys for voting to cut public transit funding. You really did a great job.
Yeah, thanks. My only prayer, like, Hail Mary is like, for the love of God, will Seattle get a better taxation system out of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
because like it sucks because there's like a division where it's like there's like rich assholes who are just like, why should I have to pay for the bus?
Yeah.
And like those are the people who wanted this the most because those are the ones where it's like they pay like $500 because they have 3 cars that are super expensive and that's how the value is weighed. And it's like, but there's also like, I'm sure there's probably people who are like working class who are just like, yeah, my car tag is too high.
Sorry about our local government politics corner here, but like here you're paying like exorbitant, car tabs that are like, they're definitely misjudging the value of your like used pre-owned car that like came out. Like maybe your car was released in like 2006 or something, and they're going off of the value of like a not fucking pre-owned piece of shit that's broken. But like, if you're going to get rid of that system of like funneling that money toward our public transit structure, then we need to have something else in place.
The problem with it is that like they got rid of that thing, but they replaced it with a more regressive system, which is a flat tax.
Yeah.
Because a flat tax means that the dude who owns a fucking Tesla pays the same for his car tags as you.
Yeah. Which is
as the metaphorical you in this situation.
How does that sound? Okay.
Yeah, that is what the real problem is that like reasonable frustration with the fact that the car tax system out here was like horribly calculated and like kind of fucked over people with like cheap shitty cars that aren't worth the amount that they're given. That is the thing that should have been addressed. The people who put it on the ballot just don't want to have to pay extra money for their expensive piece of shit cars.
They don't want to. They all moved here for their East Side tech jobs to not have to deal with the city and complain about traffic in the city when they are the fucking traffic. Fuck them.
Did you know that Seattle used to have free public transit?
Until 2012?
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Like 3 years before I moved here. And like I know that like, we're recent transplants relatively, so we have that same whatever. But like we're recent transplants because we're fleeing shitty hometowns.
Yeah. Places where like I had to come to Seattle because other than Seattle, I was living in a place where I also couldn't afford a car, but also there were no buses.
Yeah. It is that unfortunate thing of like, I moved here because this was a most stable place, and my problem is that a lot of the techies move here because this is where they can make the most money at that moment, and they will move somewhere else as soon as they can make more money elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas I moved here, and I'm probably not going to move again until I'm driven out of the city.
Until I don't have the money to move, and
which is everywhere that I have moved. Has been being driven out of it by costs.
Yeah. So. Vote Bernie.
Yeah,
once again.
Anyway, Bernie 2020. We're just going to keep saying this every episode until he fucking gets the nomination.
Which he won't. He will. He's gonna. Here's the thing.
There's a certain breed of like leftists who's constantly like, he made the wrong decision and he's not going to get it. Fuck you. Stay positive. We can still win this.
No candidate is perfect.
My real negative Nancy opinion is that he's gonna get it, and the Clintons are gonna try to assassinate him.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Biden's gonna be so embarrassed about his blood vessels bursting out during all the fucking...
His eyes are gonna fall out.
Yeah. And kill Bernie. It's gonna be some The Thing.
He's gonna go to hug Bernie, and then like spikes are just gonna emerge from his body and kill Bernie. And he's just gonna go like, "I'm taking you with me." And as they descend into the other world.
The Democratic debates really need like people to just take the scalpel to their thumb and do like a blood test. Like Joe Biden loses. Fucking Kamala Harris probably loses.
Beto O'Rourke just like rips open his shirt, and he's like carved these runes into his body, and he's just like, "A curse upon ye!"
Oh my God.
As he smears his blood into a pentagram in the middle of the debate floor.
That would be great.
God, I wish American politics was that good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
We're still riding high off that parasite energy, if you can't tell.
We really are. We're ready to kill the rich. We're ready to eat them.
Hey, remember Bernie 2020? He's our last chance, and he's your last, and he's yours too, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't want to vote for Bernie because I start to wonder how much in my income tax after my income tax I take home.
Says man with more money than God.
Just be glad you're taking home all of your blood.
Yeah.
Because if Bernie doesn't win, you know what's happening.
Damn, that sucks, bro. Damn, that sucks, bro. What's it like to have a home to go back to?
Interesting.
Which home?
Yeah, which one do you
which home do you go back to at the end of the day?
Maybe I'll choose my Bellevue house. Ooh, but I could visit my Bothell house.
Oh, you know what? I gave that out to some Airbnb kids. I'll have to evict them.
I'll have to evict them really quick. Shoo.
Come on. What, 3 weeks notice? Ugh, we need to change our rental laws here. They're too permissive.
Anyway, donate to the Landlord Association. And thank you for listening to us talk about this wonderful movie. We're gonna go
see The Lighthouse. Go see Parasite.
Go see both of these movies.
Stream A24. Stay on A24.
Stream A24 on Apple Music.
Yeah. Download Canopy from your local library.
Yeah. And so this month we ran a poll on our Patreon for our Film Critters Throws It Back series. It is a throwback review series where we review movies that have already come out before this year.
Before now.
Yeah, before a second ago.
Yeah, movies where we're not processing. They've been deprocessed, and we are watching them to talk about them again.
Yeah, absolutely. And this month we voted. We had our patrons vote on Bong Joon-ho films.
And the host one.
Which
we're really excited to talk about. We're going to be talking about not just the movie, but the weird distribution history surrounding the host.
Sorry to put Magnolia on blast, but they could have done it better.
Is Magnolia even still around? Fuck you.
No, they probably aren't, if we're being serious, but I think they are. But it'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, we'll have fun talking about it. We're always gonna be talking about new movies and shit.
Yeah, patrons get to hear these 3 days early.
Yeah. So if you're a patron,
hey, what's up?
What's up? How's it going?
What's up?
Welcome to the clubhouse. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to everything that we're about to do.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.